Hey there guys, so I'm going to assume you're wondering why I haven't put a video out for the past 2 weeks. Well, that's mostly because for the past few weeks I've actually been upstate and spending some time with some family members, as well as celebrating my 20th birthday. And I still wanted to put some videos out for Friday, but for the first Friday I was actually on the bus going upstate, so I couldn't record then. And considering how I got there Friday night, I didn't exactly have much time to record that night either. And I wanted to record on the last Friday while I was there, and I actually downloaded a app on my iPad, which is the YouTube Capture app. But by the time I downloaded that for the recording on Friday, I found out that it was riddled with bugs. Mostly because of the iOS 7 update, I found out. And before I could update it, Friday had come and gone, and when I did update it, I couldn't record it. So, and while I really wanted to record on the Friday, considering how it seems to be the best time, and I really want to stick to that schedule. So, as a result, 3 weeks worth of updates have come and gone, and as a result, I'm not going to be reviewing the previous 2 weeks of updates. Mostly because the information has come and gone, and everyone knows it, and I really like to be up to date when it comes to all this kind of stuff. Now, admittedly, a lot of the things were really interesting, and I really did want to talk about them, like Arania killing Jade, as well as Beck Noir and Peregrine Mendicant showing up again. That was really interesting. But I probably won't look at those, unless, of course, they do pop up in later updates, and they more than likely will. So I'll be sticking to what happened in this week of updates and continue on from there. So sorry if anyone was looking for my opinion on those weeks of updates. But anyways, to start off with, we get an understanding of Dirk's powers, but so far we've seen that he's able to remove the soul from the body, which is interesting considering how the a prince seems to be a destructor. So I'm going to guess that it's going to destroy the soul when it's completely ripped out, which is pretty horrifying. And even more horrifying when you consider how in pain Arania looks as he's doing it, which is pretty scary, to be honest. At first I thought he was just ripping the soul out of the body, which seems to be more of a rogue's powers or a thief's powers of taking something for their own benefit or for someone else's benefit, depending on the class, of course. So yeah, it's very interesting, and gonna be very interesting to see where he'll also use that in the future. And of course, what was really interesting about this week of updates was Mina and Vriska talking with Arania going off and doing her own thing, and how it seems to put a wrench in all of their plans. And what I really like about this is that I think what I didn't like about Vriska to start off with was how self-centered she was, but she never really noticed it. She thought she was doing what was good for the team, and ultimately she wanted to do it for her own self-worth and recognition, which is, I don't know, it didn't exactly sit all that well with me, and it didn't exactly make Vriska a character I really liked. But now that Arania is pretty much doing the exact same thing, I have to admit, with her looking back on it and analyzing her own problems, and while it is sad that she is going into a bit of a depressive cycle as she's doing this, it really adds a little bit of depth to her character as she's beginning to understand why no one liked her when she did this, and why no one exactly felt all that keen with her being like that. And yeah, it just makes it all interesting. And what makes it really better is how Mina is there to sort of support her, even though she's merely just shrugging and agreeing with her. And though, admittedly, that does make sense considering that it is Mina, is within her character. But what I did like about Mina was how she made the contrast between her and Arania. With Arania, much like Vriska, doing things for getting stuff done for the recognition of others, and just to remind them that considering that if she wasn't around, they probably wouldn't be either. But how and I like how Mina talks about how when she wants to get something done, she gets it done without getting anyone's recognition, nor without it like getting to her head, not for her own self-worth, which I really like. It makes her character all the more interesting and makes her actions very explained. It makes it more easier to relate to her, and yeah, just makes it a little bit more interesting. And then going on from there, we get a better understanding of Jake's powers, which seems to be that his powers don't seem to work unless the people who are supporting him are in trouble. Now, admittedly, I didn't exactly understand why that is, but one thing I do like about this is that it's a drawback to his powers. One thing I do find a little bit uneasy when it comes to superpowers in general is that usually there's no drawbacks. There doesn't seem to be any amount of weaknesses. There doesn't seem to be a kryptonite to many superheroes' powers, and the same goes for the Homestuck powers. There doesn't seem to be any one problem when it comes to their powers. They always just seem to work well for them. However, I like the fact that Jake's powers has a visible disadvantage, that his powers that are able to create anything from his imagination and make them real always has a drawback, and that makes sense. I mean, his power is incredibly powerful when you think about it like that. But it's not powerful if he doesn't have anyone to support him. And when I started thinking about that more and more, it's understandable. I mean, why he would just become a Gary Stu at that point. Now, admittedly, I know that's really pushing it, considering how he's not just a very bland character. He doesn't get everything that's going right for him and all that other stuff, and it's just his powers that are overpowered. But I like the idea that Hussey has decided to put some limits onto his powers, and he's not just all powerful. And on that note, we have the last few updates with Jane killing Jake, and I guess it's easily understandable. I mean, he was the one who caused all of this stuff to go tits up for them, but I'm going to guess that Jake might not die, considering how it's the clause thing. It's like a god tier can either die if he or she dies a heroic death or a just death. Considering how he was putting a wrench into some evil plans, but he wasn't dying as a result from it. He was killed as he was doing it. So I highly doubt that's a heroic death, and it can't be a just death because he wasn't doing anything evil. So part of me feels like he probably won't be dying a heroic death, though mind you, I'm not even all that sure if he'll actually survive, considering that it does seem slightly heroic. But if they just go with the fact that it's slightly heroic and that's just enough for him to die, then that's balls for him. Though mind you, that would give him the chance to meet up with Jade, and who knows, maybe catch up with Calliope too, make things even more interesting. So yeah, we'll see what happens from there. So yeah, glad to be back, glad to be making some videos again, and hopefully you guys will want to see more. So I'll catch you next Friday for next week of update review. So see ya.